Every civilization earns its place among the stars, except yours.
The vote was never going to be close. 17 species, 17 seats on the Galactic Council. And for the third consecutive cycle, every single one of them would vote the same way. Unanimous, recorded final. Humanity would not be admitted. The reasons varied by species, but the fear underneath them didn't. The Veth cited humanity's psychological instability. The Creon Collective flagged their irrational emotional responses under duress. The Sherry, oldest species on the Council and its permanent chair, simply noted that humans were unpredictable in ways that cannot be modeled or contained. None of them said what they actually meant. None of them had to. The vote spoke for itself. Ambassador Sera Okafor sat in the waiting corridor outside the council chamber, a long, cold hall of pale stone that smelled faintly of something she couldn't name, and read through the session notes on her tablet with the focused quiet of a woman who had already processed her anger and set it aside somewhere useful. She was 41 years old. She had spent 9 years working toward this seat. She spoke 4 alien languages without a translator. She had read every treaty, every recorded session, every diplomatic precedent the Accord had produced in 600 years. And she already knew she was going to lose. The aide beside her, a young Veth bureaucrat named Oris, assigned to her as a courtesy, shifted his long fingers against his robe. Ambassador, the chamber opens in 10 minutes. You may present your case before the vote, as is customary. Okafor looked up from her tablet. She had calm eyes, the kind of calm that isn't natural, the kind that's built. I know, she said. She set the tablet face down on her knee, folded her hands over it, and waited. The council chamber was designed to overwhelm. 17 tiers rising in a perfect arc, each one occupied by a species delegation draped in the colors of their world. At the center, a single raised platform, the speaking floor, lit from above by a shaft of pale artificial light. Whoever stood on it stood alone, surrounded and small. That was intentional. Okafor walked to the platform without hesitating. Chair Sherry looked down at her from the highest tier, ancient, silver-skinned, with eyes that had watched civilizations collapse and rebuild over 3,000 years of personal memory. When Sherry spoke, her voice came through the translation system as something low and final, like a door closing. Ambassador Okafor, you have requested time to address the council before the vote is recorded. That time is granted. You have 6 minutes. 6 minutes. For 9 years of work. For a species of 8 billion people waiting on a pale blue planet that the council had decided, 3 times now, wasn't ready. Okafor looked up at all 17 tiers. She had prepared a speech. A good one, measured, logical, built from the Accord's own language, citing precedent and procedure. It was sitting on the tablet she'd left face down in the corridor. She didn't use it. I want to ask you something, she said. Her voice carried without effort. No translator needed. She was speaking Accord standard, clean and precise. Not as a formal argument. Just a question. Sherry's expression didn't change. Proceed. Why are you afraid of us? The chamber didn't go silent so much as it contracted. 17 delegations, hundreds of individuals, and every single one of them went still in a slightly different way. The Creon Collective, who communicated in harmonic clusters, stopped humming entirely. The Veth translator's fingers froze above his input board. Sherry's voice, when it came, was careful. That framing is inaccurate, Ambassador. The Council's position is based on assessment, not fear. Then tell me what you assessed, Okafor said. Specifically, Sherry straightened. This was the part of the session she had prepared for. The part where humans argued emotionally and the Council responded with documented facts, and the chamber watched a species embarrass itself before the inevitable vote. Your species has been at war with itself for the entirety of your recorded history, Sherry said. Your psychology is defined by aggression, tribalism, and short-term thinking. You have nearly destroyed your own planet twice. You are, by every metric we apply, an unstable variable. Okafor nodded slowly, like she'd been waiting for exactly that. You're right, she said. About all of it. The chamber shifted again. That wasn't the response they expected. "We have been at war with ourselves for 10,000 years, she continued, her voice unhurried. "We have burned cities we built with our own hands. We have poisoned rivers we drank from. We have made every mistake you just listed, and then some you didn't." She paused. "And we're still here." She let that land. "Every species on this council reached stability before they reached the stars. You solved war or plague or scarcity, and then you expanded. You came to space already finished, already safe." She looked up at Sherry directly. "We didn't." She reached into her jacket pocket and set something on the speaking floor. A small rectangular device, the size of a deck of cards. She pressed a single button. The chamber's main display, the screen behind the council tiers, used only for official documentation, filled with data. Not hers, theirs. Pulled from the Accord's own historical archives, accessed legally through the observer credentials they granted her 3 days ago. 31 cases, 31 moments in Accord history where a member species had faced a Category 5 extinction-level event. Plague, stellar collapse, hostile contact, climate cascade. 17 of those species had called for help. 11 had received it in time. 6 hadn't. Those 6, Okafor said quietly, sent their calls during cycles when the council was in recess or in procedural deadlock or simply too far away to respond at combat speed. She looked at the numbers. "I've been studying your response infrastructure for 2 years. You are slow. You are cautious. You are stable." She turned back to Sherry. "And the galaxy is not." She picked the device back up. "We're the only species that has ever run toward a disaster instead of away from it. Not because we aren't afraid. Because we are afraid, and we do it anyway." Her voice didn't rise. "It didn't need to. You don't want us on the council because we're unstable. I'm telling you that's exactly why you need us there." The vote happened anyway. 14 in favor of exclusion. 2 abstentions. 1 vote. The Veth representative, who had not spoken during the session and who filed no written explanation, in favor of admission. It wasn't enough. Okafor walked out of the chamber the same way she walked in. Unhurried. Oris fell in a step beside her, his long fingers clasped, his expression carrying the particular discomfort of someone who had witnessed something they couldn't categorize. "You knew the vote wouldn't change," he said. "Yes." "Then why?" "Because next cycle it might." She pushed through the corridor door into the cold outer hall. "And the cycle after that. And eventually one of those 31 events happens again, and the council is in recess, and 6 species send a call." She picked up her tablet from the bench where she'd left it. "And maybe by then, there's a human ship close enough to answer it." She stopped at the end of the corridor and looked back at the chamber doors. Massive, sealed, decided. She wasn't finished. She had never once in her life been finished. Sera Okafor put the tablet under her arm and walked toward the transit dock with the particular posture of someone who has lost a battle and is already planning the war, because that is what humans do. They lose, and they learn, and they come back. They always come back. Because the universe had spent 600 years building a council of the careful, the stable, and the afraid. It forgot to account for us.